Hello, welcome to Totally Wild Webinars, and this is the launch. We have Anthony Beer from the beautiful Bay de Chaleur, and I'm Damien from the Canadian Wildlife Federation, and we're going to introduce you to this amazing project that's been going for the last almost a year now. And we've got to the wet end, so to speak, and Anthony with his classes are getting the boat into the water. So I think we've got a radio interview, so we'll just play that, and then we're going to head over to Anthony.
For nearly a year now, we've been following the progress of a special after-school project on the Baie des Chaleurs. Students at New Carlisle High School built a sailboat. The last time we checked in on the project, which was dubbed The Build, the students were almost done with construction. This past weekend, the boat made its maiden voyage on the waters of the Baie des Chaleurs. The project was started by the teacher Anthony Beer at his last school in New Carlisle. His contract there ended, and he went on to Escuminac School. Beer brought the boat with him, and he set up a new set of students to work on it. Yesterday, Marika Wheeler spoke with one of the students, Ray Gallant, as well as the teacher, Anthony Beer. Marika asked what it was like to take the boat out.
It was a magical moment because we had thought about it for so long and envisioned it, and finally we were able to put out the boat and see her sail and test her out and see how she turned and just how everything worked out. So like I said earlier, it was magical because it was something we had thought about for so long, and finally just seeing it out there and feeling the water and just looking back at the peninsula and knowing we were finally on the water was a great feeling.
Ray, when we spoke last time, you were telling me how much you were looking forward just to get out with the boat. What was it like for you?
Like Mr. Beer, it was magical. It was really great. Though I couldn't really help with the sailing part, I got to enjoy the ride, and I can't wait to get my lessons.
Have you done much sailing before?
No, that was my first time.
Yeah, it was your first time on a sailboat?
Yeah.
What was it like? What did it feel like?
It was just fun to be able to ride along. Like, I've been on kayaks and other boats, just never on a sailboat.
What was it like for you to sort of put this boat that you've spent so many hours working on out in the water?
It was a great sense of accomplishment that we can take our finished product and put it out and get the good use of it.
Who was there with you?
I was there with my teacher, Mr. Beer, and a man who helped us build it, Matthew Baudet.
Okay.
He was the biggest help on this project.
How does this compare to other things you've done before?
I think this is the biggest thing I've helped build. I've only ever done projects where we build benches and stuff.
Not a boat, eh?
Never a boat. This was my favorite of all. And yeah, it was fun. Can't wait to build the second one.
Yeah, because the second one's on its way?
Yes, that's it. We've placed the order, and we should be receiving it soon.
Anthony Beer, what was it like for you? Because you've been working with two groups of students on this. It's been going on for more than a year now. What was it like for you?
It was great. As you heard Ray said, he's never been on a sailboat before, and he's experienced now a new project. So it was just great to actually sit back and see, Ray as an example, and even the other students that were involved, just take on a project and feel a sense of accomplishment and a sense of something different and a sense of attaching yourself to something that we live around, and we should be taking care of the water and appreciating it and valuing it and the learning experience that goes along with it and the difficulties that come up in the building or whatever comes up, but that you keep pushing through. And if you keep working and you collaborate and you bring a positive attitude and a sense of community, that, wow, look what it can lead to. It can lead to you feeling a sense of accomplishment and working with others and being out on the water. So that was a great feeling. And even just to see Ray so curious when he was on the boat for the first time and now being excited, wow, so that's what it's
all right. So welcome to the Build webinar
in June, and
that was
to be able to sail it. So it's wonderful to see.
There's, of course, the other group of students from the New Carlisle High School that you started this project with. You're in Escuminac now. When will the students from New Carlisle get to try out the sailboat?
Yes, so when Ray and Jasper, who helped finish the boat here at Escuminac, have lessons at the end of June, there'll be an invitation for the students that were involved.
So this,
in New Carlisle.
well, welcome again to the Build webinar, and the project is very grateful for the support of from Damien and the rest of Canadian Wildlife Federation in supporting the students in this project of building a boat and being more aware of the environment around us and the sea and preserving what we have and taking care of it and being stewards in environmental issues. So we're very appreciative of that. So here's the first picture we see here is this is when we brought the boat out and tested the sails. So there was still snow on the ground, but it wasn't going to stop us. We wanted to see how the sails looked and brought it out of the shop. And as you can see, Jasper and Ray are very excited to get it on the water. They were pretending as if they were on the water, sitting on it, testing out the rudder. So that was a very cool experience to see.
And we're looking for students.
So here's where we are located.
So we'll be putting that kind of
on the Bay de Chaleur, as you can see in the peninsula here. Ecoval is where the dot is there, so we're right on the water, which is wonderful. And New Carlisle is just northeast of Ecoval, where the project began with students. And then to the west there is Escuminac. So it's about an hour and 30-minute distance between both the schools. But as you can see, we're up north, and there's plenty of water to put joy with this boat.
Of not being back at Escuminac stop this. So that's why we're going forward, and we'll be doing it.
This is the
providing that for
Ecoval team here with Damien. So this is where the students will receive their lessons, and who have been a huge support to the project as well. So that's where our boat is being held right now, and this is where they'll be receiving their lessons.
When's the next time
the project really developed with these students here. This was pretty much our backyard at the school in New Carlisle. We're only a few minutes away, walk from here. So I always brought the students down because the first time I brought them down, they were just so appreciative to be down there. And unfortunately, they haven't had a lot of access to it by their families or whatever the case may be. So they were really keen to always go to the beach, and I was always amazed because it was so close. And so I took them there as much as possible, and a lot of them were asking me questions like, for instance, what is this? And it was seaweed, and I was really taken back by them not having a lot of access to it, and it's right there. And if they're not accessing it or also knowing about it, then how would it ever be taken care of, and how would it be appreciated? So
thank you very much, Marika.
These are really the pioneers of the project, because they wanted to now say, like, well, I wonder what's out there under the water. Well, I thought in my head, we need to get a boat, we need to go out there, and we need to enjoy both the beach and on the sea. So this was kind of that first moment at this day when I really wanted to put this project forward. As you can see, the big theme behind this project is teamwork and pulling together.
Okay,
generally,
handing over to Anthony. So that's fantastic, amazing. I'm going to leave you to carry on from here, Anthony, and maybe describe a little bit, how this project went from start to finish. And we've seen through some of the slides while we were listening to the radio interview there, and let's hear about it.
Feels that, and the boat turned out so well because of all that positiveness. So the kit, this is the Near Dinghy kit that we ordered from a certified Near plant, if you will, in Ontario that makes these kits. So it's completely certified, and it arrived in this huge package. We were so excited to finally get it, and then when we opened it up, we were overwhelmed by all the pieces. And we knew right away, the students were like, we have to be so organized. We have to document everything, do a checklist. So I was really impressed with their enthusiasm to be very organized. Once we got organized, we needed to then seal the boards and make sure that they were sealed with epoxy glue. And so it became a new unit to the project of measuring ratios, because you have to do perfect ratios when you're mixing the different glues together. So they were very keen on being very precise, and they were really fascinated by the different epoxies and the mixtures. So it was a little chemistry, if you will, unit for them. And they did very well. They looked out for each other. Here you see one boy pouring, but he's kind of looking out at the corner of his eye, making sure that the other boy's making the right ratio. So it was really coming together and making sure that they had the right ratios for the sealant. Once they had that, it was time to roll away. So here we are, sealing all the boards and all the pieces and laying them all out to make sure they're dried. And you have to keep working pretty quickly throughout the process, because it does become hard fast. So they knew that they had to both be also to work at a quick speed, and they did a very good job at it. Once we did the first coat there, it needs to be sanded to make sure that there's no air bubbles and that there's a smooth surface and that it's not clunky, because that would be not a good thing. So they knew that the next step is very important to not over sand, but not to be too light on it. So they found that delicate balance again of working together and making sure that they did a great job. Once we had all the boards sealed and sanded and another coat went on, we then began drilling the holes for the stitching with the copper wire, because the boat was put together first by copper wire, which you'll see further on. So here they're making the precise holes that have to be spaced out in a pattern, and they were very good at measuring it out, remeasuring. And here we have Hannah drilling those holes for the boards with Jacob looking on and making sure that everything is going right, and James there holding it for us. So you can see how much teamwork is needed for this. It cannot just be one student. There needs to be a cooperative team. Once we had the holes, now we're starting to put the boards together with the copper wiring. So here's Jacob holding it for Jack, who's putting the copper wire in and then having to twist it with pliers. And mind you, it's only a 2 millimeter hole, so it's very tiny, and it's quite a lot of work, and your fingers get pretty tired, but they kept going through. And here we have the hull being attached, and just beside his hand you see a little opening there. That's where the keel goes through. So here he is bringing all the boards together with the copper wiring and twisting it, and it's starting to grow. We were always amazed, just one board, then another board, then another board, and then we started to see the shape of the boat. And here we are just finishing some more stitching, but as you can see, you can start to see the front of the boat coming up, and the sides coming together. And the student next to me reading off the measurements, making sure everything is precise. And here's one of the volunteers who is very important to the project, Georges Lemay. Very helpful man, worked extremely well with the students, and had a lot of positiveness to the project. And we are here stitching more parts of the boat together. And now we are measuring to put the glue blocks, and those give us markers of where future boards will go in for the seating of the boat. And so these are really important glue blocks because once you glue them with epoxy, they are always there. So we always measured multiple times before ever applying epoxy, because once it's dried, it's there forever. So we knew we had to be precise. And as you can see, the teamwork there, measuring, making sure that the spacing's correctly, and going over it several times. Well, the shape is beginning. Our glue blocks are in. And now we are looking at the alignment. So we have a board going across, making sure that the boat is in a line, and continuing on with more stitching. Gluing is a very tricky process because you always have to think what is also touching that glue. So when you're using the support of the clamps and a board to give that pressure, you have to use something to give a layer between the glue and the boards and the clamps. So we use wax paper. So the first time I brought in the wax paper for this day, Liam and Jacob here thought we were going to be, because there's a kitchen at this workshop we were using, thought we were going to be actually making cookies. So in fact, we weren't making cookies or baking or doing anything. We used it for glue, so it doesn't stick to the wax paper. So a very important part in our toolkit was that wax paper. And here we have the four transom being put on. So this is the front of the boat. Isabel here is holding it with Jacob as Jacob is putting the copper wires in. So this was a big day because we had our aft transom put in, which is the back of the boat, and now we have the fore transom in the front of the boat. So it's really taking shape. This was one of the most difficult pieces to stitch because you're really bringing the sides of the boat in with the alignment and pulling them and putting it to the fore transom. So this took us several hours because you had to make the stitching perfect, and it was the front of the boat. And there she is, and with Isabel there after the stitching, we have now a second board for alignment, and we also have our floor battens on the boat there. So once again, it's becoming a boat. We had a great visit from Marika Wheeler in the beginning of this webinar. We heard an interview of the final piece of the project. This was the first visit by the CBC with the students checking in on their project. It was a great day because she actually arrived when the fore transom went on, and it really took the first shape of the boat, and all the kids were now able to really see, oh my goodness, this is a big step. It was like that, really the first floor of a house. It was, you can start to envision rooms. You can now, the students could envision, okay, I'll be sitting there on the water. So a very important day. That was the with Marika, our last day in New Carlisle working, and then the boat got moved for the Escuminac kids, and we are now in a workshop by Mathieu Baudin, his workshop in Carleton near Escuminac. So this is the first day Ray and Jasper and Escuminac saw the boat. So I undid the tarp like a magician, and there it was for them to see, and they were just amazed at where the students from New Carlisle got it to, the stage they got it to, and also just taking it all in of going, okay, what's my role now, and what's the next steps to take the boat on. So it was just a day of reflection, looking and planning out the next days. Jasper was immediately intrigued by this project. He's always wanting to, he told me, work with wood and have a project like this. So here we're actually putting in the boards along the glue blocks that I had previously mentioned, and this is where the seating will be on the boat. And another volunteer here is from the Carleton area, Andre, who was very helpful as well with the project. And here is another form of glue. So this is for the seams. So this goes over the copper wiring parts of the boat, and also gluing in the supports here in the middle of the boat. So it's another sort of chemistry that the students enjoyed with the ratios and using fiberglass powder. So they were very intrigued by this new form of gluing, and also amazed at how fast it takes shape. So once we're at this point, so we have those supports in the middle of the boat there, and we're aligned. And as you can see, in the aft transom there, we have a laser put up. So we're always making sure that everything's in line with everything that we're putting in the boat, that we're not putting too much pressure on the sides, and that the hull is nice and sturdy. And here we are putting in the keel and measuring and making sure that it slides correctly and that it's in a line and glued. So this was a big day as well, because we're starting to get to those finite pieces, and starting to see that huge pile of the kit dwindling and going much less and less and less. So we know we're getting closer and closer. And here's Ray taping, putting the glue and epoxy along the boards, making sure that they're sturdy and sealed, and making sure that he's being precise with the painting there. And Jasper doing his bit, chipping off any excess glue for this is where the keel slides through. So making sure that the keel has enough room to slide in there and is not hindered by any of the wood or any of the glue, excess glue. And now we're at the rudder. So here's Ray with George and Andre, making sure that the rudder is being placed in the right position and in line. This was a very fun part. We had pretty much everything almost done inside the boat, and now we are to turn it over. And this is the fiberglass. It's like a cloth, almost like a tablecloth that's woven very tight, and you lay it over the hull, and you can see some of the pieces there that are still not painted over. It's just like a tablecloth, and then you'll run your glue across it, and it becomes where you don't see it any longer. You see very little of it. So this is to seal the boat and make sure that it's protected from the water, and the wood is protected. So this was really cool process to see, because when we first laid it out on the boat, both of the boys looked at me and said, how is this going to, stick to the boat? This seems like an odd process. And then surely as you run this glue, it's almost like honey. It looks just like honey, and I think this is where the students started thinking honey brown for the name. But you slide it over, and then the tablecloth disappears, and you cut the excess fabric along the sides. Once you have that all glued, then it's important that you do sanding. We decided to go ahead and stay the whole day gluing with the epoxy, with the honey-like mixture all day, so that we only had to then do a few sanding, because you don't want to sand away too much of that fiberglass coating. So you want to be very careful with how much you sand away. So we did a very good job by only having to sand a few times. So here they are sanding, making sure that there's no excess glue in any of the fabric that's exposed. We can see, and then we'll do another layer if needed. But we did a great job, and it wasn't needed. There it is. Once we did the sanding, then it's time to clean it, and they were so keen on cleaning it because they wanted to see the color finally and get away the dust. So they're washing it almost like a car wash. We saw how much fun they were having. So Matthew and I were tempted to see if we could pull our cars in and see if they could wash away the winter mud off our cars. But it's you can see how it's glistening. And there it was after all the washing. As you can see, there we have the Ford transom, which Isabel was putting on, and now it's at this point where all that stitching is done, the copper wiring is done, the taping is done, the sealant, and we have the honey brown boat. Then we flipped it over, and we were putting in the rest of the little details of the boat. Making sure that everything is still in line, so we knew we could move on. And Jasper is very, very excited. He's thinking with there. He's like, I think it's only 2 more work days, and we'll be ready to sail her. And he was very close. We only needed 3, so he was quite close in his estimation. Here they're measuring for the hatch holes. These holes there allow for the boat to breathe. So we had to measure them and put them in the best places possible. So in the wintertime when the boat's being stored, because unfortunately we can't sail all year here as the water does get very, very chilly, and we do have a very intense winter. So when it's drying out during the winter, you would undo these hatch holes, and it lets the boat breathe so that there's no moisture being held. But it's very important that you put them in the correct places, and here they are measuring and remeasuring, which is always key. And then once they had their measurements, Ray drilled the holes for the hatch holes. And once we had that, now we were time for the mast. So this is Ray and Jasper very excited as they now have the mast up. And with the mast, then we could try a sail. And there's Jasper hidden behind there at the little hole there on the sail that helps you navigate and see. So he was very excited to see that sail finally go up. And the mainsail. So we have the jib sail there, and now we can test out the mainsail. And once we saw that the sails, everything looked good, we thought, okay, it's time to take it outside. Unfortunately, the water wasn't ready, but we were so keen, and we had a little wind, so we took it outside. And here Ray put on the sticker, and this was a great moment because we were ready to, we were so close, and this is showing that it's approved by the International Sailing Association. And with it, we can see that it says the Mir dinghy boat, and we have a number that's registered. So amongst the Mir dinghy boats, we're 70,858 number. So we're part of this large family of Mir sailing boats that's recognized. So this was very cool to put on, and Ray won the paper, rock, scissors between Jasper to put on the sticker. And all the volunteers and the crew testing out the sail outside of the shop. And Ray pretending he's sailing. As I mentioned, they really wanted to get on the water, so then instead, since we couldn't get on the water, they still got on the boat somehow. So here's a nice quote that Damien has put on. And would you like to read this, Damien? Yes, we got her on the water, so we're leading up to that. But it's such a great quote because as before this quote, we saw Ray. He was messing around on the boat, and it's whenever you see people messing around on boats like that, there's a smile. So it's a great quote to go along with that picture. So this is now our boat stored at EcoVol. This is after we put it on the water. So this is its new home for the summer. So it's nice to know that it's outside and accessible. So this was a big day. This was last Sunday. We had some decent weather to get out there, so we're putting up the sails, getting it ready, pointing it in the direction of the wind. So it's touching water, but not yet in water. And there we go. We have it in the water. We're about to go out. That's Ray and myself and Matthew Boudin, who is a huge help.
I don't know if anyone's read Wind in the Willows, but it is a real classic for anyone who's ever messed around in boats or on the water. So believe me, my young friend, there's nothing half so much worth doing as simply messing about in boats. And I think that was told speaking to Rat about the benefits of being on the water. But I don't think we need any to persuade anyone around here. So Anthony, did you get her on the water?
That you have just seen throughout the photographs. And I'll take it over to Damien once again. Great. Thank you. So a nice little shot of kind of where we're at up here. So there's a lot of water, and we're very lucky that the water isn't overpopulated with motorboats. So it's a very safe and enjoyable place to sail, and it's a very spacious for the students to be able to practice sailing.
Yeah, so I mean, I think so it's a this just I think most of us and many of us here have grown up outdoors, or certainly, or in this case, on the water. And some of the memories of those endless summers just seem to go on and on forever. They are the ones that stay with us forever, and form basically what who and what we are later on. And Anthony, what a fantastic example for everyone, and this is a fantastic project. So you're obviously leading by example, and I think we've got a new fleet of sailors in training down there in the Bay de Chaleur. So so a fantastic project to follow, and I'm really excited to see where you guys go with this. Yeah, I guess the context, one of the original contexts of this project, especially from the Canadian Wildlife Federation, but I know it was one of the key points that Anthony brought up at the very start was, the being next to the water and being on the water is one of the is one of the key ways, especially in Canada, that we connect with nature. And it's very easy to consider that. I love this cartoon because it's very easy to consider that the water is a bit two-dimensional and is not what we see is what we get.
Sit on the beach and
watch. Of course, this little fella, he's a little bit depressed. He's been out in their desert island for a while. But in reality, there's an awful lot more out there than just him and that island, and I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind, and that water is really central to our health and to the health of the natural world, and it's a whole range of ecosystem and habitat. So this is a fantastic cartoon that Sean Brillant, our marine programs manager, uses on a regular basis. So thanks, Sean, for that.
And it
on the Bay de Chaleur, what an amazing, natural, place and habitat. And I think, Anthony, you were just saying that with the ice and snow gone, you've got a bit of activity down there now.
So we will be fishing and doing water studies here along the bay and in the rivers. So the kits have arrived, so we're going to be fishing in the next weeks, which gives a nice little break from all the preparation of examinations to get outside, get some fresh air, take some study breaks, throw that reel, the line out there, and see what happens, and to do another activity along with the Canadian Wildlife Federation is great, and the students are very excited. And we'll be doing this with elementary and high school.
Okay, so that's part of our Healthy Waters pilot, which we're running at the moment across various provinces. And what we have the slide here is just one of the many tools that we have to facilitate, this connection with nature, which is so key. And this is a tool. It's an app which we go on our smartphones, and we don't always think of smartphones when we think about getting outdoors. But this is a really fantastic tool which allows us to identify, to observe, identify, and report species that we may not know. It's a very powerful tool with a large community of amateurs and scientists and professionals who help you to identify what you see. So that's just a great example of some of the ways that we can interact with nature outdoors and how we can tie various elements in. You guys, we've already seen the Google map earlier on, but you're obviously on the outskirts of the St. Lawrence, where it starts to touch the Atlantic, and you're on the St. Lawrence watershed. But this is, again, just a very key message that we sort of bring across on a regular basis with regards to wherever we live in Canada. We're on a watershed, and even if we're very far from the sea, we interact directly with the sea, and of course we do so in very many different ways. And some of it's not always very positive.
At the end of June,
and I know having spent some time down there with you guys on the shore, I've seen this directly. It's a direct result of a modern life. In this case, we see a lot of fishing nets, a lot of plastic. I know that you guys have a launch on the 3rd of July, I think, Anthony, the official launch and the get-together around the build. So you mentioned earlier on you guys were planning some other activities around the launch and the build. So I think you mentioned that a beach cleanup was probably one of those activities.
On the water and appreciating it, that they'll even take care of it more and look out for it.
pollution. So, I think it's all about, again, how do we make these connections and how do we inspire positive connections? And this is a great example. Someone's obviously done a beach cleanup somewhere. I think this is probably on the West Coast. And an artist or someone who's become an artist really using what would have been just rubbish and pollution in an amazing way. So just another great example of inspirational connections. Something, a little food for thought for everyone as well. We know when we talk about plastic, we can also talk about our plastic footprint. And on one hand, that's how much plastic we consume or recycle or don't recycle, but we can also have a positive, a positive impact through beach cleanups, through education.
Not only
so
are
this
we
is all part of estimating your personal and community plastic footprint.
The environment outside.
Anthony, I'm going to leave you sign off because I think you guys have managed to do an amazing project here and put it together with various threads. And I think this is a photo from one of your classrooms where you're interpreting
kind of just let
some of the species in your area. So I'll just hand over to you here.
Find out as much about whales as he could. How are the whale populations doing? What are the characteristics of whales? Where are whales very healthy? Where are some areas that they're not doing so well? So it's also bringing that awareness into the classroom and making it exciting and engaging and sharing that information amongst their peers. And they're going on doing research about different species, different areas that need to be, that they want to bring attention to, because not all of the world is doing so well in their preservation of the wild. So it's bringing awareness not just to their local level, but also to the country and to the continent and to other continents. So really getting in there and engaging themselves with knowledge of what is working and what needs improvement.
Wow, that's fantastic. So that's amazing, Anthony. I mean, it's amazing the way you've tied in so many different subjects, so many different disciplines. We've talked about. Obviously, there's the hands-on building the boat. There's the chemistry element, the mathematics, the environmental and conservation education that goes with it, and everything else. So I know there's going to be many more threads and elements added to that as you guys move forward into the actual sailing side of it this summer. Good luck. I hope to get down to see you. And this is, I guess, just a recognition of some of the
because it takes so much to get a project like this going, and so many volunteers and helpful organizations. So we're very appreciative to everyone that's pitched into this project and supported it and brought enthusiasm. And like Damien said, it's a project that is trying to reach to so many levels within education and development of children, and getting them using those mathematics skills, those scientific skills, and applying it in so many ways and making use of it and finding relevance and finding a connection to their environment and care for with one another. So we're really appreciative of Canadian Wildlife Federation, and thank you very much, Damien.
Okay. Cheers, Anthony. Look forward to and enjoy your fishing, and I'm sure you're going to be doing some fishing also from the boat. Good luck to everyone down there, and look forward to speaking to you soon. So I'm just going to sign off. I mean, the Canadian Wildlife Federation has an amazing range of education programs. This links directly to the Wild About Sports program, and if you're interested in learning more, please join the Wild About Sports Club. We get included in that. There's a subscription to the to the Canadian Wildlife range of magazines in French and in English, and there's a lot of other water programs. So please go online, find out what we do, and I'm going to sign off here. Thank you very much for everyone for listening in, and until the next launch or the next build, Anthony. Thank you very much.
Look forward to it.